Welcome to the Jesus People segment of the Antioch Indy podcast, a place where each week we're going to hear from different people about what it means to walk with God. We hope that you leave encouraged and equipped and that this builds your faith for what God wants to do in your life. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jesus People segment of the Antioch Indy podcast. We have another Meet the People episode. I think that's what I'm going to call these episodes,
Nice.
but we have Meet the Bess. So I have Sam and Sarah Bess here. Sam is on staff and has been on staff since the very beginning, inception of Antioch Indy. Sam, what do you do right now?
I am officially the families and youth pastor here at Antioch. So,
All right, your role I feel like has shifted
a little bit.
Like as we've grown as a church, you just
Yes.
become whatever we need.
Sure.
It's so great.
I love it.
So great. And then Sarah, you are a stay-at-home mom and a photographer. What else?
Yep.
What do you want to tell us?
One day I'm going to be a home designer.
Yes.
I mean, I would love to do that, but
That's so great.
I joke, but yeah.
That's great. And you guys have how many kids?
We have 2 kids.
2 boys.
Two boys. Hudson and Jude.
Yep.
How old is Hudson?
6 months.
6 months. And Jude is,
3.
Just turned 3.
Which is wild.
that is
Yeah,
crazy.
he's a little person instead of a little
Because I
baby.
met you when you were pregnant with him
Yeah.
when you first started.
10 weeks pregnant when he came to visit.
It's amazing what years do on little people.
I know.
I'm like, oh, I was the same 3 years ago. He was not
No.
the same.
He's-
Not even
yeah.
close.
What is he like? What's his personality?
Jude?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. He's a blast.
Really?
He's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really sweet, tender-hearted little kid. So much fun.
It's crazy that you guys made a sweet, tender-hearted
Oh my
person. You
gosh.
guys are. I'm just kidding. If
Thanks,
you don't
guys.
know Sam and Sarah, you need to. And I was so excited to have you guys on because I feel like I've just watched y'all be the most adaptable and generous-hearted and like faithful people, and not getting a lot of recognition or needing it. I just feel like you guys just do what needs to be done, so without complaint, which is amazing. So good job, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're both just like smiling quietly.
Without complaint
And
that
what do
you
say?
hear.
I don't know
Well,
what to
it
say.
just is so
Just
amazing.
kidding.
Especially, okay, I will say, we moved from Texas 10 years ago this July,
Whoa.
and I had like 5 years of a very hard time.
Mm.
And you
Yeah.
guys are both tried and true Texans,
Yes.
and you're okay.
Yeah, we're making it.
I
It
feel like
makes it-
emotionally, you've been very stable. Am I wrong about that?
No, I
No,
mean,
not at all.
it's not been what it maybe appears to be, but there's been definitely a lot of grace, especially moving into like an already
Yeah.
established community of people going for the same thing. That will do wonders moving to a new city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, you have to make a choice to like
Sure.
plug in with all the new faces and people, and you guys have chosen that really well. Good
Thanks.
job again, guys. Can you just tell me a little bit though, like what do you think in winter, or what was your first winter like?
Oh, my gosh.
The first winter actually wasn't that bad. We were bracing ourselves for the worst because everyone told us it was going to be terrible. I mean, I remember you specifically saying that it was
Sorry.
the first winter was
wanted
the
you to be
worst.
prepared.
Yeah.
But the first winter wasn't terrible.
Okay.
The second winter was way worse.
Way worse.
Way
Like
worse.
emotionally, or just like the actual weather was
The
way
weather.
worse?
The actual
Oh.
Actual weather. We had a nice first winter as
Okay.
far as it wasn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have a garage, so that makes a big difference for me
Mm-mm.
getting in and out with the
Like I
a
could not
baby.
have done it. I would have
yeah.
just packed up and
Yeah.
driven to Texas.
I was literally going, why do people not have
I know.
garages up here?
I know, it's
Every
the
house has
dumbest
one in
thing ever.
Texas.
And
You're
then
like,
in Texas, I'm like, why do they have a garage? I
Right.
guess for
The
tornadoes.
heat or the heat. It's
Oh yeah, it does get
a little
kinda
bit
hot. You just
better.
need like a carport.
Yeah, more
know,
Right.
than-
more
than
than
your
like
worse in
a
Texas.
a box
Yeah.
of to keep the heat in. Yeah.
So Sam and I are both. Well, I actually have retired my 903. Have
Yeah,
you too?
me too. Yeah. No more 903 number.
So
It was
sad.
a big choice.
We retired our Texas area codes, and now we're both
Yep. 317.
Indiana. But you're
That's
from
right.
East Texas, like
Mm-hmm.
Chad would say I'm not, but I really was from all of high school and all of college, so I
Yeah.
consider it.
Totally.
And you're from Mineola.
Right.
The last time we were in Texas, we got gas in Mineola, and y'all were there. And I remember thinking, like,
What?
I am near
Yeah.
my
Wait,
people
really?
right
We
now.
were
Yeah,
within-
it was like over Christmas or
15
something.
minutes.
You texted us. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's
how do
great.
you know?
Yeah, no, I loved it. No, I knew you guys were there. The only thing I remember about Mineola was a burger company.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
E.T., right?
Oh,
Yeah.
East
so
Texas
good.
Burger
Texas
Company.
Burger Company.
We went there a lot the first few times that we visited while we were dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, can we go back to that place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you take
And
a
Sarah,
fries,
you're
we're good.
from not East Texas.
No.
What do you consider? I don't really know a lot of the Texas geography, even though I did
Uh-huh.
live there. Where are you
Uh-huh.
from?
I'm
Bryan?
from College Station. Bryan, technically. Bryan College Station are the same,
Right.
basically, same town.
Is that like
So-
Central Texas?
Yeah, this would be
Yeah.
classified as that.
Did you grow up there your whole life? Live there?
Yeah. I was born in Dallas 2.5 years after I was born. My family moved to College Station. So, yeah, same house.
Yeah.
Same. Whoa.
Same neighborhood. We actually, right before we got married, I moved out to a house down the street, same neighborhood. And then when we got married, moved to another house down the street. So same neighborhood my
Yeah.
whole life.
That is so sweet. And then
Oh,
you
the
moved
first
here.
other place for her to live, I moved her here.
Yeah, first
crazy.
like big move out of the neighborhood was here. I didn't move off to college or whatever.
Sarah,
so-
you are the real MVP
Right?
in this situation.
Seriously.
Oh my God.
How did you handle it?
I mean, it was just
Like a
filled
champ.
with lots of grace and excitement. Honestly,
Yeah.
it was really exciting. I think if it would have been for any lesser vision
Yeah.
in my mind, whatever I thought was lesser vision and less excitement,
Mm-hmm.
and if I maybe wouldn't have been a new mom and just having so much fun doing that, it would have been maybe harder. And there's like waves of grieving it.
Mhm.
Like I feel like recently we've been grieving
Mm-hmm.
different things worse
Yeah.
than in the beginning, because
Yeah.
the beginning, like I said, it was filled with so much excitement, and so it's still
Yeah.
super exciting, but the hype of the newness of it all can wear off a little
Totally.
bit.
Yeah.
And so grieving different things has actually been even a little bit harder in different ways.
Because you have many siblings.
Yes,
How many do you have?
I have 6 siblings.
You have 6 siblings, and you were
Yes.
homeschooled your whole
Yes.
life.
Yes,
So you
Yeah.
were around them a lot. Do they
Yes.
all live in?
not all of them,
Okay.
but a lot of them, and then the one of them that is married and is about to have their first baby is moving back to Texas, and so
Yeah.
most of them are there.
Mhm.
And so and then just like different siblings missing out on those,
I get it.
Yeah.
So
you understand.
yes,
Yeah.
it is. And
So-
I think this is so indicative of your character, and I hope everyone's getting this, that you're doing it so cheerfully and have
Yeah.
so much faith for what God's going to do. Because I think I just stayed in that place of grieving for a long, long time. And to me, I was like, okay, Lord, like I get a crown in heaven, right? For
Sure,
every birthday
sure.
party I missed. But you've just done it so nobly. So would you say, Sam, like, is she,
Yeah.
from your perspective, is she like a faith person? Like, you have to carry a lot of vision and faith to move
Yes.
across the country and be like, this is exciting. And to
Right.
have a new baby. And
Totally.
I don't know many people that are like, new baby, super exciting.
Right.
Super exhausting, maybe. Super traumatic. Not super exciting. But that's awesome.
Yeah, totally.
Is she
Yeah,
like that?
she's totally like that. I mean, I think, just to that whole process of deciding to move here and be a
Mhm.
part of what God's doing here was just it was actually a really easy process.
Yeah.
It was like, we were kind of in this spot where God just tells what to do, you know,
Mhm.
and yeah, so just praying about that, and when we heard, and so
Yeah.
we moved. It was just
So take me a little bit back into that. You guys were going to Antioch and College Station,
Mhm.
where Heather and Andrew were on staff.
right.
Were you guys on staff there?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Tell me about the whole
Yeah.
process. What happened?
Yeah, you want me to share?
Sure.
Yeah, so I'll back all the way up to 2013.
Okay.
We get married January of 2013, and really felt, kind of like God leading us to and prompting us to do the discipleship school together.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that in 13, and it went into the summer of 14, and
The discipleship school that we're about to launch.
right,
Yes.
exactly,
And have our very
Do
first
it.
one. Okay.
Everybody, do it.
Okay, keep going.
And so we did that while so I was in school when we got married. Right before we got married, I decided to stop going to college.
Okay.
Got married. I got a full-time job. And
There's a long story with that.
long
but
story with that. But
Cliff Note version.
yeah, really, why I share that is because while we were in the discipleship school, God started to reveal to me, like, maybe you won't go back to school. I'm like 25 hours short of a degree.
Wow.
But just started feeling that prompting, and then I was working at a job, a tech company in town so graciously gave me a chance. I have no background in that, but some guys that we knew decided, I jumped on board. They trained me, and it was
Wow.
crazy. It was a huge blessing for
Yeah,
us.
I bet.
And anyways, that allowed us to be in the city and to be present there, and created space for our family to grow. And during the discipleship school, we started feeling this prompting, like, okay, maybe I won't go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
God has something else for us. At the end of the school, we took like a 2-week-long trip to Thailand with our class.
Mm-hmm.
And while there, God spoke pretty clearly through the long-term team that I wouldn't be going back to school, basically. Like, he kind of demystified, honestly, what it was like to live missionally.
Yeah,
I had
because you
grown
were
up-
like in
Right.
Thailand.
We were
Yeah.
in Thailand, and what I remember was thinking, like, these are just normal people. Like, I
Mhm.
had grown up with this misconception that you got to be a little off your rocker to be a missionary.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be a little crazy, a little cuckoo.
Yeah.
In
you
a
know,
good way.
But in a good way, but also like, okay, they didn't fit here, so they fit somewhere. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that was
Like there
Or
were
they were
social
more
social
radical.
misfits
Sure,
in
sure,
America,
sure.
so then they go, yeah.
sure.
Or
And
they were more radical than everyone else. and
Right,
They're
yes.
not like everyone
So
else.
did we
yeah.
have an Antioch team in Thailand that you guys
Yes.
went to?
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah, we have several
Mhm.
long-term teams there. And
Okay.
we were there with a couple families that are there long-term, still there, and they kind of just took us under their wing, Sarah and I got to see kind of behind the scenes, and Nick, the guy that was leading the team,
Mhm.
basically was like, hey, we're doing the same things here in Thailand that we were doing in Waco.
Right.
There's no difference except
The location,
language,
yeah.
the language
Right.
and the location, and the culture and food. And I'm like,
But no difference,
Yeah,
practically
right,
exactly the Yeah.
But it really just demystified it, and he challenged me, like, hey, when you go back, why don't you just start living the way you want to live now, where you
Yeah.
are, instead of waiting for where you're going or the potential thought that you might be missional somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that really just hit us pretty hard. It hit me really hard. And
Yeah.
so we went back and just decided, okay, we'll give
Mhm.
ourselves to the church in a new way to serve.
Mhm.
And I'll stay at this job. I wasn't great at it. I wasn't that
I
helpful.
didn't love it.
And I didn't
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'll stay here if they'll have me.
Yeah.
And we just did that. And it
Mhm.
was the next year that Andrew and Heather took over the discipleship school, and they asked us to help out and like disciple some of the students. And
Yeah.
that's how we got to know them.
Okay.
So a year later after that, we celebrated with them when they said they were moving to Indianapolis. Like, that's great.
And we
then they-
both immediately were like, we could do that.
Yeah.
In
And
our
then they
hearts.
invited us to pray about it. It was crazy.
I
And
mean,
you-
most Texans, like literally, I tell my friends from Texas, I have
Yeah.
2 best friends, we text all the time. I'm always like, I live in Indianapolis. At first, they thought it was Minneapolis. Like,
oh my gosh.
no clue. We're
Right.
Indy. And they still like, now which one is it, Illinois or Indiana?
Yeah.
And I'm like, get your states
on.
out. Come on.
If you're in Texas,
You kind of like
Yeah.
that.
But the amazing that you two very fully Texans would be like, oh yeah, Indiana sounds
yeah,
appealing.
sure.
It wasn't because Indiana sounded
Right.
appealing.
It
Okay,
wasn't
so tell
at
me
all.
why.
Yeah.
Tell me what made you.
Yeah, you
What made
share
you
more
say
about that
yes?
process
Yeah,
yes,
of
yeah.
like. So we've been
Yeah.
asked and took the 30 days, that whole deal.
I just have to say, Sarah, before you say this, I think you would have made it on the Oregon Trail. Like, I think you're that kind of a woman who can just
Totally.
make it.
That is a
I
great
actually
way to
you always
say
have, like,
that.
a
made a
baby
really
on
delicious
you, and
new
you're like-
pancake recipe, and it was amazing. It's actually Joanna Gaines'
That's
pancake recipe.
awesome. No, I'm serious. You
That's a
have the
great way.
inner fortitude.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow, I would have died. Like the first Ford crossing, I've been
I'm
like,
thankful we didn't have to drive with a newborn.
yes,
That's true.
Me and Jude flew.
Yeah,
he
and
drove.
then I drove. Yeah.
Anyways,
Oh
yeah. So after the discipleship school, and so the culture at Antioch College Station was, you know, like everyone in college was like thinking maybe I could church plant. You know,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
might be for me. So like it was not a crazy idea. And then
Mhm.
after we came back from Thailand, we sat down and had coffee. And I remember us having a conversation. Like, I think we could see ourselves church planting in
Yeah.
3 to 5 years.
wow.
We could just see that happening. And for me, he was the one that was like, yes, and we're going overseas. And I was like the person that was like, never overseas ever. And so I was like, 3 to 5 years feels far enough away where I can get used to the idea. But I
Yeah.
like want it if it's what God has, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
My heart wants to do that. But like, I
Yeah.
I
totally.
started to become just like more open to it.
Mhm.
And then when we were walking with Andrew and Heather and helping them with the discipleship school and being discipled by them and just growing closer to them, just really was a huge season for us with discipleship with them. And we just loved it and felt so just like discipled in the best
Yeah.
possible
Yeah.
definition of it. And
Right.
we were like, we just wanted, whenever we heard that they were going, we were like, this kind of sounds like this could be where the Lord is leading us.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had that, like, I remember when Heather told me, that's what I felt in my heart was like, we could do that too. Like, we could
Yeah.
go with them.
Right.
And then I called Sam on the way home, and he was like, yeah, we could do that. And I never even said, like, we
Yeah,
should do
sure.
that or whatever. And so then when they asked us, and we, like, didn't hint at anything,
Sure.
you know, but when they asked us, our hearts were already like,
Wow.
maybe that's what the Lord has. So then we took a month to pray and do a prayer journal.
Mm-hmm.
And just through that process, just really felt like the Lord gave us faith to say
Right.
yes. So it wasn't a resounding, thus saith the Lord, you must do this. But
But I think what you're like demonstrating is just like staying close to the Lord. Like a prayer journal for a month is like
right.
keeping record and
Mm-hmm.
in like I think a lot of times I get immobilized. I don't know if anyone else does by like waiting for the Lord to specifically say,
Sure.
now is the time for you
Right.
to obey me.
Right. Right.
Instead of like,
It's a real thing.
oh, if I just trust the Holy Spirit is in residence, like inside of me, and he's giving me peace about this thing, and it isn't a sin. It's like a
Mhm.
good thing. Like, why
Right.
wouldn't I just keep moving until you get a clear no?
mm-hmm.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of what you're saying
Mhm.
was the process,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah.
I know talking to Andrew and Heather too, we're talking about just how y'all came to their minds like immediately. And I think it's one of the best decisions. If I had to rate their
Mhm.
decision making, I'm like, oh, that was an awesome decision. Just like such a clutch couple to come and to choose people.
Thank you.
I just can't even get over it, guys. I know you're like, oh, she has to say this, but I just feel like as the church, like I'm
Yeah.
representing so many people who are like, wow, you guys are setting a precedent of people who like joyfully give and show up and do
Mm.
stuff and don't complain. It's amazing. Sarah, tell me a little bit about Sam, like from your perspective. What are some of his giftings? What's he like? What's he like
Yeah.
at home? Because I was just before we started, you said
Oh
something
my
like he got
gosh.
annoyed easily, and I was like, what? Sam never gets annoyed. Sam in my head is like who I like aim to be more like. I'm like,
Yes.
Jesus, help me be like
Oh
Sam.
my gosh.
Yeah. Contrary to popular
Yeah.
thought, he is a human,
Yeah,
but
Very much so.
but kind of
still
superhuman.
the
No.
most serving and selfless person I know, and I
Mhm.
know him more than anyone.
Yes.
So, yeah, he's a lot more silly at home and crazy than you
Mhm.
might see. Other than that, you pretty much see.
I think
who he
Sam
is.
introduced, what are those things called? You send us in pictures. They're text message and they're like a video.
The gift.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I never know if it's meme. I don't know the
Yeah,
difference
no.
between the two. But you were like the first person who showed Chad and I what those were, and you sent it in a text. I remember
Oh,
Chad
yeah,
and I
he's
being
the
like,
king of
Sam's
gifts,
funny.
yeah.
Like, Sam's really...
Yeah.
You would send ones that would be so ironic.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're like, wait, where
I
go
take pride in
Sam?
my gift game.
Yeah, you're
It's-
really
it's
good.
a real thing.
Yeah.
it's your gifting.
I
Yeah,
feel like
oh
I've been
my
trying to
gosh.
step up mine lately, and I
Yes.
just feel that's maybe me trying to be more like
No,
you, Sam.
my
Just kidding.
I try to be as cool as him, and then I like show him when I'm like laughing at myself, and no one responds, and he's just like,
He's
"It
like,
was good,
"Aw,
babe."
it was
Tries
almost
to make me
there. It was
feel
almost
better,
there.
Yeah.
So close.
Okay, so he's obviously servant-hearted.
Yes.
What is
Very
he like
much
as
so.
a dad? Like, what would you say?
I mean, he's the funnest dad ever.
Mhm.
And just, I mean, like Hudson, he walks in the room, Hudson sees him and starts like giggling. Hudson's the 6-month-old.
So sweet.
So he already knows. And then Jude like chants dad's name whenever he's coming home, you know? And so he's a great dad.
Yes.
So definitely quality time and playing and
Mhm.
fun are his specialty with them.
So much fun.
So,
It's so great.
yeah.
Dude, we have a blast.
It's so great.
So
And-
much so that he loses track of time at bedtime with Jude, and they'll be in his room for 45 minutes. And I'm like, you need to make it shorter.
No,
That's not practical.
I am a Nazi at bedtime. We got to go. We got to get in and out and get our time. I love that. How is Sarah as a mom? What
Oh
do you?
my gosh. I feel like what you said about her making it on the Oregon Trail is something
was
I've
so
been trying
prophetic.
to put language to for years.
Yes, I love when I do that.
This
Thank
is
you,
like,
Lord.
You're like counseling us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like it. Like a rock star
Mhm.
mom, just so much capacity
Yes.
and
Makes a lot out of a little.
right,
Yeah.
and to like not only to parent but to like bring children into the world and then
Mhm.
parent them and then
Mhm.
to raise them. She has so much capacity for that, and
Mhm.
it's such a blessing
Yeah.
because then it creates space for our boys to have a blast and have a fun life and like
when Dad
be
gets home.
super healthy. And then, I get home, I'm like the table's set.
Yeah.
Like, we're just having
Now
fun,
we just have
you know?
fun.
Right.
That's so
Right.
precious. I love it.
Yes.
And Sarah, you have an eye for beauty too. Like as a photographer, if people haven't seen your home, I just feel like it's so beautiful. Everything is like a picture waiting to happen, which is such a gift too, to make spaces beautiful.
Thanks.
And I love that that's like a future dream of yours,
Mhm.
the whole house
Yeah.
designing.
Kind of.
I can see that.
Yeah.
How did, okay, so you're homeschooled growing up. You meet God at a young age. Like,
Mhm.
tell me about the journey with the Lord. Like, what are the steps that maybe essentially made you? How do we become Oregon Trail moms is what I want to know.
Oh my gosh. Well, so to try and make it somewhat understandable in a quick way.
Yeah.
So grew up homeschooled,
Mhm.
family that followed Jesus. So I was the kid that would always accept Jesus every night at Awana's, every chance that I could get. And so I just grew up with a desire to do the right thing and to know God. I just didn't fully know what that looked like, obviously.
What was your birth order? Like there were 7 of y'all. So where were you?
I'm the third oldest.
Okay.
So, so kind of the second mom to the younger 4, because I've always loved babies and kids and stuff. So, so I'd say that I grew up just having a high value for good and like doing the right thing, being homeschooled and always being brought up and knowing a lot of scripture through songs and things.
Yeah.
And I actually am so thankful that so
Right.
much of the scripture I have memorized is from that. But kind of how I've described it in different seasons is just kind of maybe getting this Pharisee mindset with my relationship with God. And so, but I think deep down my heart was pure, really just wanting God, but getting mixed up what that might look like. And so, so I would say in junior high, some of that was broken off with being introduced in youth group, like what spending time with God could look like, or more so just like a relationship with God. And
that is not just like the rules. Like, oh, if you check these boxes, then you're good with God.
Yeah. And then was really hungry. I guess like junior year of high school, started to see kind of where that mentality breaks down a little bit of like not consistently spending time with God and knowing him as a person, being in a relationship, but just kind of seeing the breakdown with things in my life, the roller coaster feeling of being close whenever you need him, going to him when you need him, but and then forgetting and whenever you don't need him, kind of just that consumer mentality with God. And that was, so junior year I started feeling really hungry for that. And then senior year is actually when Antioch planted in College Station.
Okay.
And so that was when I jumped in. We met each other. We both jumped into life group. Community that was the first time I had really been a part of a community of people running after God in this full of vision focused mindset, and then being discipled for the first time and all of that. And so within just the Antioch years, there's a whole huge story of my process with God, but that was the beginning of a huge journey that I've been on since, of just knowing God more.
It's so cool. It's so great too, like, especially for a lot of the families in our church where we're raising young kids hoping they get it and like committing them to the Lord, but like, oh Lord, I really hope they get it, and I hope they become like I feel like for you, like you absorbed everything that maybe your parents put in front of you,
for sure.
But now you're in a place where like it didn't send you spinning off and other things, like you're still faithful to those things and giving those things out to other people, which is huge to have that. And
I'm so thankful more and more and more, especially as I've become a parent, of my upbringing. I think in the in between times I've thought, oh, I don't have that great of a testimony or whatever that means, but I'm so thankful that my heart is just maybe has a little bit less junk to sort through. I mean, there was junk for sure,
right, but there's
like
not
less traumatizing things to heal from and more just junk to clean out and then be done with, and so I'm so thankful for my upbringing in that.
It's so cool. I love that. And Sam, we heard a little bit of yours when you and Andrew did a podcast on how to pray. But take us a little bit back. So you just give us the broad overview. What led you to where you are right now with God?
Wow. I mean, so very similarly, I grew up in a home that we're believers, Christians, and we anytime the doors were open, we were at the church, and that's just what I grew up around and just kind of associated with Christianity because I grew up in it, and then in high school really started to ask a lot of questions about the faith, but didn't really land on huge answers. So I, did what everyone does is put it on the back burner. It's a terrible choice, but well, I can't answer those, so whatever. I'll just figure it out later, I guess. And, and so, I mean, that's just kind of how I was content to live. And then right before I graduated high school, my mother passed away unexpectedly and just kind of forced me back to that question, obviously, and really floored my whole family. And I personally got to that question of okay, God, are you real? I need to know. And just decided I'm going to camp out there until I know he is or he isn't real. And really long story short, he started to show up. I moved so that was a couple weeks before I graduated high school that happened, and started asking that question. That summer I moved to College Station to go to school, 3.5, 4 hours away from anybody I knew. And just God thing, got connected with somebody who invited me to a church. It was the church that Sarah's family was going to.
Wow.
And she invited me and this other guy to this thing called Antioch Life Group, and
I did not know that. So you were the connection.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm hey, cute girl's inviting me to something.
Really
I'm gonna
cute
go.
girl.
Yeah. And so we went, but that first night at Life Group, I encountered God in a way I'd never before, and entered into relationship with him, and he made himself real to me, and there were guys there that were committed to helping me learn how to follow him, and the rest is history. I mean, I just was I found him. I'm not going anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's so cool. And I love that now you work with youth because
it's fun.
Especially you said high school, maybe you weren't totally walking with the Lord,
Sure.
you understood.
Sure.
But now you're discipling a bunch of high schoolers. Or do you have junior hires too?
Mostly middle schoolers actually.
Wow.
That I meet with. So
And just teaching them how to encounter God at that age.
Yeah,
I mean, think about if you'd been running after
Yeah.
the Lord since 7th grade instead
Sure.
of, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's how much
Totally.
further. I mean, not that you're
Right, no,
where you're
I
supposed
totally
to
get
be,
it.
Sam.
No, that's it. It's a
I mean,
real
we
thing.
want to set the next generation.
There's
up
always
for-
more. There's
right.
always more.
Even
Yes.
greater encounters with the Lord.
Yes.
What would you say? What have you seen in our Antioch youth right now? What's God doing?
Oh man. So first of all, the groups that we have two, what I call discipleship groups, and there's a middle school boys group and a high school girls group. So it's interesting that's how it kind of played out. But
so these middle school boys can look at the high school girls
Sure.
and be they're beautiful,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to aim for, but I can't date them. It actually works out well. The Lord might have strategically planned that.
Oh my gosh. What I see in them kind of blows my mind. I mean, at that age, I wasn't thinking through the things that these boys are thinking through or these girls are thinking through, and they have huge hearts. They want to know God, and they have a hunger to do it with people in a real way, authenticity. That's what they're asking, and they're trying to figure out who they are and what their purpose is, and but they know that I think they can taste of the health of this place, of this family, and they're I kind of want to explore that. You know? So that's where we're at. I mean, we meet weekly and we kind of talk about how's it going, spending time with God, and and we'll the boys every week now we've started putting something into practice just recently, and we're practicing hearing God's voice for one another,
cool.
and they're just praying hey, God, are you saying anything for my brother today, and then we share those words, and it's awesome. So
that's
cool. Where we're at now. We've got a ton of vision for where we're headed, but that's where we're at now.
Because we have something this summer where we're having kids from College Station come up.
Yeah, a lot of fun. So we're doing a summer trip in July 14th through the 19th.
Okay.
And side note, this Sunday.
Okay.
But when this comes out, it'll have already happened.
Okay.
But we're doing an interest meeting, and a lot of people are coming to that.
Cool.
And I'm sharing okay, what's our vision for the summer?
Yeah.
And what are we hoping to accomplish? Where are we headed? And really, the goal of the summer is we're going to create space for our youth to encounter God, and that we call that life group around here. And so we're starting a life group where peers can come and encounter God together, be changed, and invite others into that process, and then reach their reach other people.
I love
And
that.
so we're doing that. And the goal of this trip in July is to, to talk, basically that we're going to gather together, encounter God, and we're going to have our first life group that week. But we're having kids, 20 to 30 kids from College Station come up that have been living in a community like this,
Right.
going to rub off on us and just show us like, hey, here's what's on the table for us. Here's what's this is an option for us.
Right.
And I'm so excited for that.
That's so cool. And I think it mirrors y'all's story, like hearing you say, like, you both kind of were catalyzed by seeing a group of people encounter the Lord. And now you're setting it up for other people, which is just pretty amazing too. And I'm glad you guys are the heart behind youth, because I feel like in youth you can be real swirly. So it's good to have like rock people like you guys, just like helping them. You're going to make it, man. Like
that's awesome.
That's so cool, guys. Well, we are almost at our time cap, but I know I'm going to have you guys on again to talk about other things, especially talk about life group, because Sam, you're like over our family's life groups and doing such a good job at that.
Thank you.
And you guys have been so faithful in life group. So, but thanks for being on today. I think just hearing from you is so helpful. I know, like, being in the church this long, I've been like just itching to hear more, like, who are you guys? What makes you be so faithful and amazing? And how do I get a hold of that? So thanks for sharing with everybody. Sam, do you think you want to pray just for everybody? Why don't you just like give the gift of peace and faithfulness? Be more like Sam Best, people. But why don't you pray to close us?
Yes, I will. Thank you, God, for this time. Thank you that you have made yourself known to us, that you are real, and that we can have a relationship with you. And I pray over the people watching and listening to this, God, I pray that you would make yourself known in a new way. Your word says that we can taste and see you and that you are good. And so I'm praying that for the people listening today. And I pray that, just something I've been praying over everybody. I pray over is like that this next season would be full of joy, and the fullness of joy, as your word says, that where your presence is, there's fullness of joy, and we're people after you and after your presence. And so, God, I'm praying that whoever's listening to this, the people of our church, the people of our city, that they would experience you, they would see you, they would know you, and that would bring about the most joy-filled season they've ever had, that they would just, like, it would be fun. 2019 would be fun. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, guys, and come listen next week. We'll have another cool couple on.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for listening with us today. If you would like any further information or resources, you can visit AntiochIndy.com or find us on Instagram at AntiochIndy.